You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. I'm a Silver Fox advisor and the founder of OneBestConsult.com. Thank you for joining us today. I think we've got a lineup of information and ideas from various guests we're going to have that particularly could help you perhaps, just perhaps, in your business even today. So again, thank you for joining us. And as we get started, obsolescence, that's a word I heard this week at least twice, talking about businesses, about changes that as a result of the COVID and other things, people working remotely, all this news, if you will, that we've heard. And now there's a lot being written about obsolescence, or we're not going to work in an office, so we don't need an office space, office building, we're going to work remotely. So that makes the office building, if you will, obsolete. Obsolescence of your business, boy, I hate to hear that that small business people feel like there's a factor that's working against them right now that just 2 years ago or less was not evident to them. But businesses come and go. The buggy whip, that was the favorite example when I was growing up. It came and it went. Someone still manufactures buggy whips, but nowhere near the volume they used to. I think the bigger threat to a vast majority of businesses is obsolescence of your processes, of how you do business, whether it's how you market or how you process an invoice, how you produce your product. These are all areas that, because of technology and other factors, become obsolete, sometimes almost overnight, it seems. So I encourage you, always be on top of your processes. Again, it could be a manufacturing process, it could be a sales process, marketing. Your processes will change because technology and other factors do change. COVID changed some of these processes, or you should have changed to meet the new environment. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself, I'm afraid, in trouble. And I'm going to talk about in my tip of the week specifically about one area that you can help yourself if you've not already been involved in it. So I encourage you to stay with us. And as we close the program, the tip of the week, we'll talk about a certain area where obsolescence does offer or encourage an opportunity. Want to remember that if you have a question about anything, or an idea, observation, a comment about the show, send me an email. It's real simple, rick@irlonestar.com. That's rick@irlonestar.com. The mailbag is a big part of the show. We pull issues out of the bag, emails. You got an issue with your business, a challenge, let us know, and you may hear our response on the air, but we do respond to all those emails. So without further delay, I want to introduce our first guest, Doug Thorpe. Doug's been on the show before. He's a fellow Silver Fox. He's currently the vice president of the Silver Fox Advisors. And if you don't know, Silver Fox Advisors is a Houston-based group of professional leaders who've come together and help other people grow their companies. Been around since 1986, working primarily with small businesses, mentors, advisors, CEO roundtables, a variety of areas. If you got a moment, check them out at silverfox.org. Doug's going to talk about something that's coming up, a very special lunch and learn. It'll be virtual. You can attend. There's no cost. So please give Doug Thorpe a listen, and I'll catch up with you on the other side. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We've taken the show on the road again, and we're visiting with a good friend, a fellow Silver Fox advisor, Doug Thorpe. Doug is currently the vice president of the Silver Fox Advisors. The Silver Fox, if you don't know, is a premier association of business leaders which help other business owners grow their companies. They've been in existence, the Silver Foxes, since 1986, offering consulting, mentoring, advising services to small businesses throughout the greater Houston area. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Rick, it's a pleasure, and glad to be on and see you again.
You've been a regular guest, and we appreciate your contributions. Before we get started, though, I would like to mention to the folks listening and watching this program that you just released another book. Talk to us a little bit about that book, because I think some of the ideas behind it, we've talked about it on the show, are fantastic ideas, can benefit almost every business. Tell us about that book.
Yeah, Rick, thanks. Yeah, the book is titled Trust at Work, and it is a compilation of material that we have talked about before. The issue is, modern data is telling us that there is starting to be a growing chasm of trust between the employees in the workforce and the leaders that are trying to run companies. And the question becomes, if you are the leader or the owner, how do you fix that? How do you build trust? And the book attacks that. It dives into what we call the team trust model that helps owners understand a very clear 6-step approach to helping address the questions that employees have that drive the bottom line to build trust.
Well, I think that model is an interesting model. As I said, we talked about it on a show earlier this year. I think it is a blueprint that can help any business owner that has one or more team members, actually, as they build.
That's right. Business. That's right.
So I think that's really cool. Silver Fox Advisors, folks listening may not be familiar. I did a little bit of intro on it. Tell us who the Silver Fox Advisors are.
Yeah, Rick, as you mentioned in the intro, Silver Fox Advisors has really been around since 1986. It is a group of proven business leaders, men and women that have come from all segments of business and industry and all sizes of companies. And all of us are kind of in a stage of life where we may still have active day jobs, so to speak, but we also know the value of becoming a mentor and giving advice to those that are just starting the journey. And our focus is helping small businesses throughout the greater Houston area. We do it in a number of ways, principally of which is what we call our CEO Roundtable program. We do invite business owners to come alongside, join a roundtable. The typical format is those groups meet once a month. They are kind of, I'll call it, steered by a Silver Fox member that is there as an advisor to help guide and direct that peer-to-peer sort of exchange of ideas, best practices, problem solving, and all those great things.
That's one of the things when I talk to folks and the various things I do, my radio show, also public speaking, I talk about the Silver Fox Advisors, and really anybody in a small business, again, back to even the sole proprietor, solo can gain simply by going to the website. It's silverfox.org. They can connect. There's a great newsletter. But one of the wonderful things I think the Fox is doing, a lot of effort by you and some of the other members, is our monthly Luncheon Learns. And we've got one coming up that I think can be very inspirational as well as informative. Why don't you tell the folks about that?
Yeah, Rick, you're right. Let me, if I can, just add to the description of the program. One of the other programs we do support is this monthly Lunch and Learn. Formerly, it was in person at the Houston Racquet Club, but of course, because of the pandemic, we shifted to a virtual format. We are continuing that virtual format for the next couple of months, but this month we are kind of showcasing a great success story of an entrepreneur couple, husband and wife team. The people are John Pierre and Mary Jean-Jo Penn, and they are entrepreneurs who have created and built a very successful home remodeling and redesign business. But it has been so successful, they've been picked up and have appeared on 2 different HGTV reality shows to talk about the remodeling and the work they do in the community. It's a wonderful story of hard work turns into great success, and they're coming to join us at this month's edition of the Lunch and Learn.
And what are the details? If somebody's interested in attending, I know there's no cost. They just need to make themselves available. Where can they get the information so they can connect with the Lunch and Learn?
Yeah, the best thing to do is go to our website, as you mentioned, silverfox.org. There is a tab on the right side of the site that says upcoming events. Click on that tab. You'll see a banner with the info about John and Mary, and click on that. There's a reservation tab. We are asking for pre-registrations because the seating in our virtual event is limited. So we are asking people to register in advance. But as you mentioned, there's no charge to attend. We would just love to have you come out. There will be a Q&A that will be live, and you'll have a chance to ask them questions about their story.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. What I know of the story, it's a great story. They've got a wonderful business model, and they've had a lot of success, obviously, by many different measures. So, Doug, thanks for taking time to step aside from your daily activity and talk to us today. And my encouragement to anyone that's listening and watching this program, check out silverfox.org and potentially this Lunch and Learn. It's coming up in the next 10 days, and there are more events the Silver Fox is involved in. So check out that list as well. Thanks, Doug, so much.
All right, Rick.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that message from Doug. The new book he's written, I really think if you have any kind of an organization, 1, 2, 5, 500, 5,000 employees, there's something in there in that book that will help you organize your overall running of your business and getting the most out of your biggest asset, right? Your employees. So leadership's the name of the game. I encourage you to pick up a copy of Doug's book. Also, I encourage you to attend that event that's coming up next week. It's a virtual event, and hear from some folks that have really done it. They started a business, they've grown it, and now they're national. So I encourage you to do that. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to have Mr. Tom Jordon visit with us. You might know Tom. He's been on the show before. He's all about exit, developing strategies, one of the leading authorities in the country. So please stay with us.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
God's Garage is a 501c3 that repairs and gives away cars for free to single moms, widows, and wives of deployed military. You can help God's Garage by donating a vehicle, volunteering your time, or by monetary donation. God's Garage is located at 2106 East Davis, Conroe. If you'd like to learn more about God's Garage, visit our website at godsgarage.org, or you can contact us and we would be glad to come and make a presentation to your group.
As promised, before we went to break, Mr. Tom Jordon is joining us again. Tom is the president of Exodus CompuLink, LLC. He's been on the show. He did a series for us back about 4 or 5 months ago about how to develop an exit strategy. Today he's going to talk about an interesting topic, one that many, I want to say most business owners, as they leave their business, they sell it, they transfer it to family or employees, forget about, and that's life after business. So I encourage you, take a listen. If you own a small business, at some point you will leave the business. So life after business with Mr. Tom Jordon. Well, good morning, Tom. Glad you were able to take some time to join us. Got a very important topic to talk about today. Life after business. What happens when I sell or transfer my business and have to walk away and begin the next chapter of my life? As you and I've discussed before, many of us are just unprepared for that. We know we want to go have some fun, but after a while, the fun runs out for most of us. So let's jump right in and talk about that if we can.
Okay, Rick. Yeah, sure. There are two questions that I ask my clients as we begin to plan for that exit. And that exit may be still years away. First one is your business ready to sell? And, I call that the left side of the brain. That's the numbers, the financials, the due diligence, all of the things that go into the process of getting a business ready to sell. But I'll tell you, my experience in working with owners for many, many years, there's another side of this that is really, really not discussed a lot. Next slide, Rick. And that's, are you personally ready to sell the business? And I got to share some research with you. We have a database of about 62,000 businesses across the country, mostly mid to lower market size, privately owned. And there was one staggering statistic that we continue to see, and that is this personal readiness aspect. And that's why we call this life after business. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that really means, and just perhaps give you a few pointers today in the listening audience of some of the things that you can start thinking about and planning, so the fruits of your next chapter of life, whether you want to go start another business, or if you're ready to retire, or you've been forced out of your business because of a health situation, this will help you in that transition.
Well, obviously, the personal readiness is, to me, long-term, the most important thing. You, for example, expert helping people prepare the actual business. But so many times, again, we're just not ready to leave our business. And I know when I sold my last business and I had already decided on the next chapter of my life, which entailed going to work just in a totally different area and using a skill set that I had developed over 20 plus years. And so I was prepared in that sense, but personally, I wasn't really prepared. And after several years, which was part of my plan, I reevaluated and decided it was not something I wanted to fulfill the rest of my life doing. So very, very important issues here at work, no doubt about it.
Yeah, you bet. Next slide. So there's a really well-known business consultant out there who's got an international reputation. His name is Bo Burlingham, and he's written a number of books. I follow his work and his research pretty closely. And he says recently, many owners who have sold find themselves dealing with unanticipated regret, fighting with depression, and desperately in need of a new identity and a sense of purpose. And I didn't really get this when I first read this, but he's right. And we're going to talk a little bit about what goes into the results of this regret and potential depression and anxiety and this identity issue.
Well, a lot of work to do. Where do we go from here?
Well, let's go to the next slide. This is interesting. As I mentioned earlier, most business owners regret their exit. Now, this is research that we've done over the past several years, and the statistics are staggering. Would you click the next slide, Rick, and we can take a look at what we have found. 75% of the owners that have either completely exited or transitioned, either to family or to key employees, when they're surveyed 1 year after the event, they're experiencing regret. And only 5% are happy with the result, including their net proceeds. But the point I want to make here, and we'll see in a couple of slides coming up, it's not all about the money. It's just not all about the money. It's about a lot more. Next slide.
You know, that 75%, if I can comment, that is a showstopper of a percentage. Boy, you talk about stop you dead in your tracks. Everybody who owns a business needs to pay attention to that one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, what we have found in our research, that on the being personally ready to exit, we have found that there are four major drivers that will lead to a satisfying exit, not just the day after, but a year after, and 2 years after, and 5 years after. So let's go and let's take a look at those.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear them.
We've identified four categories of issues that really don't get looked at much or thought through in those years prior to the exit. So we're calling them future vision, structuring flexibility, personal detachment, and team involvement. So let's dive in a little bit deeper on each one of these. So future vision, go ahead and keep advancing, Rick. We kind of see this. We see owners, and we can almost categorize them in two different buckets. They exit their business because of push factors, or they exit their business because of pull factors. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of these areas on this graphic that we see here. This is a teeter-totter. So let's look at the push aspects first. You can see here, these are the kind of things that we see. We see the market has peaked or it's changed. There's a need to diversify, and there's an unwillingness to, or being unable to. Actual retirement, getting bored, health issues, stress. There could be major litigation or conflict with partners. There could be changes in life, for example, like a divorce, or even a major disability. These are events that really occur that you don't plan out, you don't hope they happen, but they do. And we see that many owners actually will exit their business on a push basis. Now let's take a look at the pull. So what we see, the happiest sellers have something calling them into that next chapter. It could be starting a foundation. It could be a philanthropic mindset about the rest of your life, maybe starting a new business, or maybe travel, or maybe reconnect with your family in a profound personal way. There's so many things that we find that successful exit and that lack of regret really has so much to do with the things that are happening in that owner's life that are calling them out in a positive way. Hey, let's go try something new. Let's go do something with the wealth that I have. Let's go make life and the world a better place. Let me go see places in the world that I haven't. Let me reconnect or connect for the first time with my grandkids. And those are the kinds of things that we see on the pull spectrum.
I would suggest the obvious, that it's better to be on the pull than being pushed. Basically pushed out of your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here are some other interesting statistics. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on these because yours are going to be different as an owner of a business. They're going to be very different. But here's what your peers are looking at: writing a book, getting involved in philanthropy, starting a new business or a hobby, definitely focusing on health, family time, and travel time. So we see, and this is the startling statistic, 1 in 3 owners have more push than pull factors and more likely to regret their exit post-sale. So the moral of the story for this presentation and discussion today is, if this is real and you don't want to be counted in that regret category, we're going to provide some information as to what you might be thinking about and how we can help you begin to visualize that life after business. So we have a number of tools and planning scenarios that can really get you set up and structured in a way that you'll have a roadmap not only to exit financially, but to exit personally.
Well, Tom, why don't we just take a brief break here, a pause, and before we enter into the solutions, we'll go to take a brief commercial break and be right back with you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sounds great.
Second Saturday Divorce Workshop provides unbiased information to help you understand your options and move forward with your life. This divorce workshop is for you if you are contemplating divorce, in the process of divorce, already filed for divorce, or post-divorce. You will explore the emotional, legal, and financial aspects of divorce from professionals who have guided others through divorce. For more information on this divorce workshop, contact secondsaturdaywoodlands.com or call 832-375-0900.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Well, we're currently having a conversation here with Mr. Tom Jordon. He's an expert in helping people exit their business in the right way. And we've been talking about some unique things today, and that's life after business. It's a unique experience. I speak with some authority and actual background. It's unique when you exit. It's a whole new world and a whole new opportunity. So, Tom, what do we do to make it better, more effective, and give us what we expect to have?
Well, I tell you, I introduced 4 concepts to you, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of them to give you a sense of the kind of things we think you ought to be thinking about, so you can join that smaller percentage of owners that have no regrets. So let's look at structuring flexibility first. The main thing that we find with owners, especially those that give us a call and they're already way down the path on a very specific exit, is they have not educated themselves on the various options of exiting and transitioning their business. They're just not aware of the strategies that exist today. And what we find is that the more informed an owner is about the spectrum and the availability of exiting options, the happier they're going to be, because they're more educated and they choose the exit that is the best for them. So essentially what we do is we take it from defining the types of exiting, third-party sale, internal sale, or transfers, or what we call family succession. And as exit planners, we know that there are literally dozens of variations of the theme under these 3 categories. And if you're an owner and you think that the only way you can sell your business is to list it with a broker and get a check someday, I'm telling you, there are a lot of other ways of exiting, and you really owe it to yourself to educate yourself on those exit options.
It's interesting here, Tom, that when I work with clients who are starting business or the business is fairly young, and we talk about exit, it's just one of the checklist items, and they have the 3 points, and one of them is to whom or who, what group of people are you going to transfer or sell this business? And I try to get people to commit in general to transfer to the family, sell to a third party. so that they build a business that will give them the kind of results you're talking about when they dig deeper as they get closer to that time to exit. So I'm an advocate of starting on day one, whatever that is, new client or new business or both, and start working towards some of these things you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Rick, what we've experienced is that the vast majority of owners want out by a third party. And that's what they've dreamed of their entire life. They're going to wake up on Friday morning and they're going to say, I'm going to sell my business. And on Monday, they want to check on the desk. And I'm telling you, it just doesn't happen that way. And the vast majority of owners end up either selling in a negative way, in other words, leaving money on the table, or accepting the wrong kind of sale, rather than educating themselves on that spectrum of options. And it's really important that that owners begin that process. And I think we do a pretty good job of educating our clients on what's out there. But I tell you, the biggest thing here is this. If you're 3, 4, 5 years from exiting or more, you may think you have a strategy today, but as you go through the next 3, 4, 5 years, you may change that exit strategy either for a push purpose or a pull purpose. And if you don't know what the other options are, and if you don't have anyone that's guiding you through that, it could be a really painful process. So it's important to know what's out there and what the options are.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So let's go to the next slide. So picking a number out of the sky, we know that most owners, when we first meet them, they've got a number in their mind. They may not share it, but they've got a number in their mind that they've locked down, that minimum number. And it's usually a number of what the business needs to give them for them to walk away. Now let's take a look at some statistics here that will really kind of sober you a little bit in the reality of that. Next slide. Now, when we take a look at this, when we see that 56% of the owners have that minimum number in mind, we also know that 61% of that group has not had an estimate, an accurate valuation done of their business in the last 2 years. Now, you can see how that doesn't square up. They've got a minimum number, but they have no idea really what their business is worth. And frankly, most owners tend to overvalue their business. They don't look at their baby the same way an objective seller is going to look at it.
Yeah, I guarantee you, if bias enters the equation anywhere along the way, it is here. And like you say, when you evaluate your business, I'm working with a client right now that he's picked a number and it's 5 years down the road. And so I'm going back through and asking him to build the financials and whatnot that will get him there, because I think he's going to be shocked just on a financial, black and white on paper basis alone, that he's going to have a difficult time getting. In fact, he's already scaled it back and we've only been working on it for a couple of weeks. So very interesting and very, very true.
Yeah. So let's look at another factor of the 4 factors, personal detachment. Why don't you advance there? We'll talk a little bit about that. Businesses have high dependency on their owners. And as all of you, I'm sure know, the more you're involved in your business, the less it's going to be worth. So what do you do about that? And we take a look at these statistics. I mean, we see that most owners are still actively putting in 40 plus hours a week into running their business. And that is not a good sign. So this structuring flexibility and personal detachment is a key ingredient in getting personally ready to exit. You have got to pull yourself out of as much as you can of the day-to-day operation of your business to give you clarity on what your future is going to look like, and to maintain the value and to increase the value of your company when someone takes a look at it. So let's go to the next slide. Now here's something interesting. 1 out of 5 owners have their name on the door. Just keep advancing, Rick. 8 in 10 owners mix their work life with their social life. And you can see here what the research has shown us in our database of 60,000 plus owners. So the social life aspect, it's telling us that owners tend to also socialize with people from work. They don't have any richness of friendships and acquaintances outside of their work life. And that is potentially a danger sign when someone exits their business, because that's socializing with people at work will wane and eventually end. So let's look at team involvement. And we can see here also some interesting statistics. Owners looking out for their team. Think about this for a second. And these are actual numbers from many, many owners that we've surveyed. Owners who look out for their team, none, 18%. I have a plan for thanking my employees, 31%. I have a plan for how and when I will tell them, 33%. I know which employees will be involved in the exit, almost half. And the last one is it is important to me that an acquirer agrees to keep most of my employees. Now, that's a wish list, particularly the last one. And we find that causes a great deal of conflict and troubled negotiation from a potential third-party buyer. So you got to get this straight. You got to figure out who your team is going to be. We find the best run businesses that get the highest multiples have had a succession plan in place. They've attached financial incentives for their key people to stay, not only until the exit, but even well after the exit. And the more that you do those kinds of things, the better that the sale, and the easier the sale will go through with the highest amount available.
Well, it all makes good sense, doesn't it? Because many times people are buying a business and they want some talent. I mean, typically the talent is the biggest asset of the business.
Without a question. Yeah, let's go to the next one. So as we end up here, the question is, how ready are you personally? How ready are you psychologically? How ready are you with family, with your close associates? How ready are you health-wise? How ready are you in terms of different interests that you may want to pursue after life after business? And that's a big question. And, you know, the reason we're having this conversation, Rick, is part of our work. Sometimes I think we're psychologists, even though we're not trained to be that, but we have very intimate conversations with our business owner clients and their families, particularly the spouse of the owner. And we talk about these kind of things because this regret phenomenon that we see is real. And I don't think it's going to get any better until we spend more time on the non-financial aspects of getting ready for a business. And that's really the message today. And would encourage you to think about this. The next slide, you can have some contact information My numbers at the bottom, my email address, and my website. Feel free to go on there. There's one assessment. It's called the Pre-Score questionnaire. Pre-Score is for personal readiness for exiting. It'll take you about 12 minutes online to fill it out, and it'll give you a vast amount of really good information that'll help you think through some of these issues that we talked about today.
Well, Tom, as usual, I can't thank you enough for being with us today. I know you've got an extremely busy schedule, and I want folks to understand that you have a number of webinars and presentations you make throughout the year, and I encourage them to go to your website and check in, because you deliver this information in such a succinct fashion, and it's good information and a lot of questions that we as business owners need to consider as we work towards exiting our business. Thank you again so much, Tom.
Well, you're welcome, Rick. It's a pleasure being here.
Do you want to know what's going on in Conroe? Tune in to Keeping Up with Conroe. Keeping Up with Conroe will highlight upcoming events and local businesses in the area. Keeping Up with Conroe will air the second Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. and will be hosted by the Conroe CVB staff. Keeping Up with Conroe will highlight Conroe's amazing attractions for residents and visitors. So tune in to Keeping Up with Conroe and join the staff of the Conroe CVB every month on Lone Star Community Radio. For more information about Keeping Up with Conroe and the Conroe CVB, go to visitconroe.com.
What can the Better Living for Texans program do for you? You can learn how to increase your consumption of fruits and vegetables, choose foods that are relatively inexpensive and good to eat, make your food dollars last longer, prepare quick, nutritious meals, help your children learn how to eat healthier snacks, and much more. Our program is committed to helping people like you improve your health through providing research-based nutrition education in a friendly, cost-free, and relaxed environment. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show so far today. Again, Doug Thorpe, Tom Jordon, two of the best people in the world in the fields they work in. I'm going to close out the show here in a moment with my tip of the week. Before I do that, I want to remind you that the show is recorded and it is released as a recorded show a couple days after we air live on Monday mornings at 11 to 12 on Lone Star Community Radio. So look for it. It's out there. It's available. We have a YouTube channel, Facebook, all the places on social media. You can go there, the weekly business hour, and you can find a copy. And I encourage you, if you're able, you know somebody who's in business that it might benefit, please share it with them. Well, the tip of the week, talked about at the beginning of the show about obsolescence, of being obsolete, of businesses becoming obsolete, but in particular processes, how you run your business, from accounting to sales to your fleet, how you ship things, all those things, those processes need to be tuned up at least once or twice a year. You need to back up, think about it. And one of the areas that I saw during the pandemic, when it was really just starting that first year, that some people really latched on, primarily the stories I read were in retail, but I really think this applies to every business out there. Every business out there, and there'll be some exceptions, but almost every business out there needs to have an e-commerce component as part of their marketing and sales processes. You need to have your business online selling something connected with your business. Okay, and I want to give you 3 ideas that I feel are 3 points you need to touch and look at this opportunity if you're not already taking a part of it. The first thing is, we typically think of online sales as you got a store, an online e-commerce store, and you're selling this and the order comes in either by phone or an email and you ship it. And there are people that their entire business works that way. And that is one way, obviously, the e-commerce, but I'm talking more today to you in the business of making steel rebar, or you're over here baking cakes, where your primary business is totally different. It's handled in a different way. You still need an e-commerce, in my opinion, you need an e-commerce point of sale for your business, because basically what that does is it gives you another window on the world that people can see your business. And what you sell, it could be, everything from your product. It could be a new product that really lends itself to being sold, or it could just be some of this brand identification, the cups and the pins and all those other things that you provide online. And when I say sell, it doesn't mean necessarily you have to put a price on it, though I would look for things, but you might have things you give away, that someone comes in, goes through a little process, signs up for your email list, and then you send them something as a gift. But you're on e-commerce. You're using that window. It's right in front of every business available to you, but if you don't utilize it, obviously you miss some opportunities. It may be a big deal for your business. It may be a small deal. But in the economy we're in, things going up and down in a lot of businesses, the opportunity to have another stream of revenue coming in, and in many cases for very little effort other than setting it up. And there are lots of folks out there and different providers that will set the whole thing up for you, and you pay a monthly fee or per item fee. But I encourage you to decide first item, what you're going to sell online. Find something either in your business, or again, the plan B is just provide some of the items that people can identify. You got a cooler, you got this, that, sell it. You can sell it for cost, or mark it up, or have a contest. There's lots of things you can do, but set that e-commerce site up and make sure that you get it working. One of the things I really like are subscriptions. If there's a way for you to put a package together, for an example, somebody buys so many loads of steel rebar, okay, and then they get different things for doing that. Those kinds of things. In other words, buy 5 loads, get the next load at 30% off. Again, I don't pretend to know the steel rebar business, but those kind of things, think a little bit in your business, your interest. Baker a little bit easy. Buy one of our cakes and the next one's half off. All kinds of things. And you can sell that online. Doesn't mean I ship the cake necessarily online through the freight, through UPS or something like that. They can pick it up in the store, right? Or I could deliver it myself. But I sold it using e-commerce. Second thing, and this is just marketing, be sure you consider your audience. Push back from the desk and take a few minutes and think about who is interested in your business. In the rebar business, we've got contractors, right? Concrete contractors, builders, people like that. I want to make sure that I'm reaching all of them who potentially would be a customer for my business. That's the key. But think about what your customers do. Think about what they might buy online. Ask a few of them. Ask a few of your good customers. If you've got relationships built, it's a matter of just talking to somebody or sending an email or a text or a letter, right? And ask them, could you tell me if you could do this, or, what do you buy online? Is there something we could provide that would make it easier for you to do business with us? Fairly simple. You can go hire a marketing firm and really get some data, but the key is decide what people will buy from you online. And again, it may just be the cooler with your business name on it, or pins or something like that. They want to be identified with your business. They like your business. You got a brand name that it means something. Whatever it takes. But e-commerce, again, a door to open. So the second thing is evaluate and understand who your audience is and where in e-commerce, what would they choose to do if they were going to do business with you through e-commerce. And last is determine how you'll sell online. This kind of goes back to the first issue I brought up as far as what you sell. It can be a profit center where you actually have product. The bakery example where you're going to sell a lot more boxes of cookies if you go online because you broaden out your reach, right? You increase business. It's a profit center. Eventually, you may even have to hire someone just to take those orders and keep the website fresh, pricing up to date, things like that. And then you have to set up the logistics to make sure you get the product and it gets out and it's fresh when it arrives. Or it may just be a branding e-commerce, like I mentioned before. But choose what you want. Make it simple. Keep it simple always, right? Keep it simple. Stupid, I believe, was the expression. But the key is make it simple. We're really not trying to build a separate business necessarily. Some cases that'll evolve. That'll be what it takes. And it ends up being a true profit center for you. But if it's just an add-on, if it's just bringing that additional revenue in, it's bringing that additional communications, building those relationships, along with all the other things you do marketing-wise to build relationships, then that's okay. But keep it simple, because you don't want it to become a drag. Nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wants to be involved. You got to keep it updated, because that's one thing on the internet, on the web, people notice if you've fallen behind, if what you're doing is broken links, it doesn't work properly, it doesn't load right. This stuff can all be outsourced very reasonably. You don't have to learn the skill set. But the key is decide if you want to have a true e-commerce strategy, one that is a profit center, or you want to back off of that. You sell steel rebar, but you want to find an effective way to use that opportunity that's right there in front of you. Don't let it go to waste. Be sure. And last but not least, remember there are platforms out there. You have companies like Shopify, there's a ton of them. They actually have stores if you want to use that approach. And they set up the payments and everything else. You don't do anything. Well, you have to go in and do a little bit of work, but it's designed for people who don't have a background in that area. But it's a neat way to have a store, to have revenue coming in, very professional looking. It's all done with templates. And there are a number of those vendors out there. So search around once you decide which route you're going, either full e-commerce or backing down to something less, or perhaps just selling branded type, giveaway type products that identify people with your business. You're not obsolete. I'm sorry if your business is becoming obsolete, but don't let your processes become obsolete. Make something, stay up on top of how running your business. Well, as we close out this week, I encourage you, most importantly, do what is important for your business. Always focus on what's important, and we'll be back to see you next week. Please plan to join us at 11 a.m. on Monday every week on Lone Star Community Radio.